minute by minute, inshallah, or the events which are going to take place all over the day. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International.
To inaugurate this edifice and this livestock production project in Sadat City in Menoufia Governorate. It's a new addition to the national Egyptian projects that contribute to Egyptian national security. It deals with the different crises that the whole world is facing due to the increasing fraud prices through the breeding of high productive strains, as well as increasing the quality of production, and this is to increase the production. The inauguration of this project comes within the state strategy to achieve food security, especially with the challenges facing the world. There was first the pandemic COVID-19 in addition to the Russian-Ukrainian war, and this made the state accelerate its food security strategy according to the directives of President Al-Sissi to develop livestock and achieve self-sufficiency. Yes, we are talking about a new stride in this field. Not only a center for collecting dairies and livestock breeding, but also according to the modern technologies, and a center for veterinary medicine, surgery rooms, labs for the detection of early diseases to prevent them from spreading. When we talk about this project, we talk about the directives of the President made in January 2020, during which His Excellency tackled the importance of developing dairy collecting centers to be accredited and licensed according to international standards, and the state is incurring the costs in this context. Developing the livestock and increasing its production is a very important element that the political leadership was keen on. Since the opening of Yusuf al-Siddiq complex in El-Fayoum, in addition to introducing different strains that are meat productive and milk productive. This is very important through use of modern advanced technology that the state is always trying to introduce in addition to other agricultural products. As horizontal expansion is one of the important topics covered by Mustaqbal Misr, the Future of Egypt project, and as well as introducing integrated compounds close to the production centers, not only for agriculture, but processing centers as well as cooperating with the private sector and depending on foreign partners and national ones to achieve food security. Yes, it is the national company for livestock projects, and it is affiliate to the National Service Projects Authority that is trying to cooperate with the private sector in different projects to contribute to the economic growth, to achieve social justice and food safety and security, as well as a better standard of living for the Egyptians. We're talking here in this project about 1,000 fidans and an integrated infrastructure in addition to expertise, the administrative staff, the modern technologies, the automatic slaughtering houses that some of which would be inaugurated today in light of this project. These compounds are in 4 main governorates: the new valley, El-Bihira, El-Fayoum, and El-Menoufia governorate, where we're standing now. It's expected that this integrated project for dairy and livestock are produced on a daily basis, as well as the use of the quality international standards. Automation in this context plays an important role, in addition to specialized research centers that to narrow the food gap and to develop livestock, as this is a very important sector that needs to achieve self-sufficiency to the reduction of imports and increasing the productivity of the hereditary and genetic control of these livestock to increase their production. If we talk about meat taken from this livestock that is breeded with foreign strains, we are talking about an increase in quality and quantity. This food production would be provided to the Egyptians according to the most scientific methods and international standards. Also, if we talk about the capacity in this production center, it is expected to have a number of projects affiliate to it, and this project also creates direct job opportunities for people. So this project increases productivity, and it also creates job opportunities for the residents. Video conference. There would be an expansion in these projects inaugurated today to achieve self-sufficiency of meat and dairy. Are all projects to be inaugurated today by the President?
يلا نكمل سكة مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه، يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر ودلنا وانت اثبتناه، وخلاص فاضل سكة على اخر السكة، لسه تكة كان لاخر السكة، لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين. خلاص فاضل سكة على آخر السكة، لسه تكة خطوة جابت خطوة فيه. يلا يلا نكمل سكة مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر ودلنا وانت اثبتناه. وخلاص فاضل سكة على اخر السكة، لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين. وخلاص فاضل تكة على اخر السكة، لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين.
الأمن الغذائي هو هدف استراتيجي تسعى
strategic objective the state is trying to attain through a number of projects in the field of food security. State accelerate such projects to develop different food security sectors by focusing on livestock. We would like to get into more details about the role of the private sector as a partner to the state, and this would be covered by Dr. Mahmoud Al-Shafi'i, the chairman of the board of directors of multi-dairy company. Mr. Mahmoud, if we talk about the role of the private sector as a main partner to the state, it is known that the private sector has a big role to contribute to development and achieving food security for the citizen. Of course, this is true as the economy has two arms. One arm is the state, the government, and the other is the private sector. We can all see the enormous efforts exerted by the state. Projects and work on them, otherwise we would not be doing our duty. Due to this conviction, we believe that we need to work on this project. The state has established here a high quality project, have these capabilities and potentials. So we discussed this and we will do the management and we will be partners to the state, and we wish that our cooperation would be a success. Dr. Mahmoud, these are integrated projects implemented by the state in the framework of and its role in expanding in this field. For technology and automation, the state has done its best to cover this part in this dairy farm. In the dairy farm, we have a lot of automated machines and equipments, and the state has provided here an electronic milking machine that is fully computerized. Even all the machineries used in the farm are all the most modern technology. The opportunity of finding jobs in such projects, to what extent these integrated projects play a role. We have both permanent and seasonal jobs, as this project would provide a lot of job opportunities. These would be direct job opportunities, and also this project, Dr. Mahmoud Al-Shafi'i, the chairman of the board of directors of multi-dairy company, the main partner from the private sector in this project. Thank you.
ولما رميت عليك حملي شاركتني فيه، ايدك في ايديا من الاول ما بتسيبنيش. يلا يلا نكمل سكه مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر ولسه تكه كان ناس كتير شكه خلاص فاضل تكة على آخر السكة لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين خلاص فاضل تكة.
Peace be upon you. Please be seated. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, she's reciting a verse from the Holy Quran that says, get to Egypt and you will find what you asked for. We are linked to Egypt up till doomsday. That's why we always say Egypt, the land, the homeland, the peace. All good is for Egypt, all appreciation and respect. If we want to describe how your devoted sons hold on to patience and will, they are always seeking relentlessly, despite challenges and difficulties, to achieve your hopes, and achievement followed by another achievement. A goal followed by another. Your land is constructed for a clearer vision to see the whole world is witnessing because of food and economic crises. But in Egypt, the vision of the political leadership in the near future, Egypt witnessed the inauguration of a number of projects on food security, on top of which is Toshka project can never be planted, as well as the new Delta project that has the farms of the future of Egypt with its strategic crops, beetroots and wheat that had an impact in achieving food security in light of a world food crisis. Building upon the vision of the Egyptian political leadership, we're witnessing today the inauguration of the integrated livestock production complex. And we will start this event with verses from the Holy Quran delivered by reciter Hani al-Husseini.
بسم الله الرحمن أشد خلقا أم السماء بناها رفع سمكها فسواها والأرض بعد ذلك دحاها ومرعاها والجبال أرساها متاعا لكم ولأنعامكم صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم.
The National Service Projects Authority is an economic institution affiliate to the armed forces that contributes with other state institutions and ministries to reduce the burden shouldered by the Egyptian citizen, and the authority contributed effectively to achieving balance in the Egypt. Managing Director of the National Services Authority. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most. Those who view the international crises realizes that food is not just a commodity to be sold and bought, but it is a weapon. Here realized fully this reality and are looking for new pathways to achieve its food security. And Egypt is not apart from the world in which it lives. Egypt, it did not suffice by the food it produces, but it planned for maximizing its resources through livestock, poultry, fisheries, and agriculture projects to move ahead to narrow the food gap from which we have been suffering over decades due to erosion of the agricultural lands as well as the increase of population. Your Excellency, the President, implementing your continuous directives and contributing to the different state institutions in putting sustainable food systems that achieves food security for the sons of Egypt, especially in light of the current international developments and their impact on food all over the world. The National Services Projects Authority established modern agricultural projects targeting our food security. And let me review the most important projects. Planting 400,000 fidans with wheat and other crops, 300,000 fidans in South Valley, in addition to the greenhouses in Nubaria, Wadi al-Mulak, Wadi al-Natun, million fidans in cooperation with the engineering authority in the armed forces and the Ministry of Agriculture. We plan to cultivate 400,000 fidans in 1.2 million fidans in the new delta in Dab'a. In the field of providing new factories in Al-Ain al-Sukhna in cooperation with ThyssenKrupp and Petrojet, so that the total number of fertilizers in Nasr Chemicals company would be 22 factories. The President, we were honored that you inaugurated the harvesting season of our strategic crop wheat from Toshka and Shark al-Awinat in South Valley for 220,000 fidans of wheat, developing livestock in Egypt, and increases the yield and reduces the imports of dairies and meat in Al-Menoufia, Al-Bihira, Al-Wadi al-Jadid, and the Red Sea, with a total capacity as follows: 20,000 for breeding with a capacity of 45,000 tons of meat, 4 lines of slaughtering with 640 heads per shift. And today, building upon all this, we are honored that Your Excellency would inaugurate a number of projects that were implemented in Al-Menoufia Governorate. And here in Sadat City, we are inaugurating 2 projects. The Veterinary Research and Training Center provided with the most modern technologies according to the standards of WHO and the Food Safety Authority, that enriches studies in different veterinary faculties. The integrated complex has 6 farms. 5 for production of dairy with a capacity of 5,000 livestock and a farm for the breeding, in addition to 4 other projects that would be inaugurated over video conference. 2 projects in Al-Bihira and the livestock compound in Noor al-Tahrir, and another in Nubaria. A livestock project in Al-Wadi al-Jadid, a slaughtering house in the Red Sea with the Italian technology, in addition to the fact that the authority continued 2 new complexes for the production of dairy 1,000 liters per day, and a slaughtering house in Nubaria with a capacity of 320 heads per shift, and it is to be finalized in 1 month. To maximize the added value to the agriculture and livestock project, your future vision to contribute to the protection of the environment through an industrial complex in Rubeki that has a factory for the production of organic fertilizers from the remains of skin and leather, in addition to other factories for dyeing leather, manufacturing gelatin and fertilizers with the European-American Alliance, the biotechnology VPC factory in Ismailia with a capacity 5.2 million vaccine doses annually that represent 50% of the volume of the doses needed by Egypt, with a partnership with MIVAC and UVAC, in addition to 140 million other doses of serums and vaccines. A factory for the production of dry and semi-dry cheese with a capacity 12,000 tons annually, with European cooperation and Lactalis company for the production of 8 kinds of high-quality cheese according to international standards. A new drink, child and baby formula, instead of importing them from abroad. Your Excellency the President, the Food Security Project, the National Services Project Authority is implementing depends on integration between agriculture and industry. We take into consideration the safety of the agriculture in Sadat that would be inaugurated in the near future by introducing new factories for dairy products as well as the new production lines and European high-quality technologies, in addition to a station for the recycling of solvents, and a lab establishing food processing factories for Qaha and Edfina in Sadat City of wrapping and packages, and according to international standards for food processing, to continue the dream of the food processing of 10 tons per hour and storage capacity 134,000 tons of cooling and storage with European and American technology in cooperation with the private sector company. New projects in South the Valley in Toshka that has 3 factories. A factory for dates with a capacity of 10 tons per hour, a factory for wood production from the establishment of a project for extracting and processing sugar from beetroot and sugar cane. Your Excellency the President, the new projects under construction would have a positive impact on food security in Egypt, and this was attained by the support of Allah and your directives and the continuous support from the commanding power of the armed forces and the men of the National Company for Livestock and the National Company for Construction. And now we refer to the constructive cooperation with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Electricity, the Ministry of Water Resources, and the Academy of Scientific Research. They supported us upon implementing these projects. Continue our efforts towards building upon the achievements attained. The great people of Egypt deserve directing all our efforts towards implementing all their dreams. May Allah protect Egypt and its great people, and may Allah crown your efforts with success for the good for this country. Peace be upon you. Dreams do not feel any statute of limitation. Dreaming of the future creates it. And now we'll watch a documentary under the title A New Dream.
حلم جديد. مصر بتحقق حلمها بنهضة تنموية في كل المجالات. ومن التخطيط أسلوب حياة.
الحجم اللي بيزيد ده اخش على الاسره ديت واقول له انا هديك راس او اتنين، الراس او اتنين دول يبقى هو الدوله مع المجتمع المدني قدرت تغير حياه الناس بمنتج يزود انتاجه ويخفض تكلفه هذا الانتاج، ثم اغير حياه الناس. وهو حلم كبير قوي بس مش كبير علينا ولا على المصري.
وتسارعت خطط الدولة للاهتمام بتنمية الثروة الحيوانية وصناعتها التكميلية، وبكده أصبح أمل الاكتفاء الذاتي من البروتين الحيواني نموذج قابل للتطبيق، فكان الانطلاق نحو آفاق جديدة تحقق الأمن الغذائي عبر عشرات الصروح الإنتاجية الغذائية. الشركة الوطنية للإنتاج الحيواني أحد القلاع الإنتاجية التابعة لجهاز مشروعات الخدمة الوطنية، والتي أقامت 29 مزرعة، منها 21 مزرعة تسمين و8 مزارع حلابة، ساهمت في ضبط أسعار منتجات اللحوم والألبان وتوفيرها بمزايا تنافسية وجودة عالية. إنجاز اتحقق بسواعد 8000 من العاملين المتخصصين، بالإضافة إلى 50,000 من العمالة غير المباشرة. وهنا بتكمل مصر الطريق بتحقيق حلمها لسد الفجوة الغذائية من اللحوم والألبان، 180,000 من عجول التسمين و20,000 من الأبقار الحلابة. وبكده استمر العمل بملء الأمل حتى نجحت في إنشاء المزيد من مجمعاتها الجديدة، ومن بينها مجمع الإنتاج الحيواني والألبان بمدينة السادات، نطاق إنتاجي يضم 5 مزارع حلابة بقوة 5000 رأس، تنتج يوميا 150 طن من الألبان، فضلا عن مزرعة تسمين إنتاجات مزارع الحلاب. كما يتسع المشهد لمستشفى بيطري ومبنى للتلقيح الصناعي. انتهت الشركة من إنشاء المركز العلمي البيطري للأبحاث ليضم 29 معملا تشخيصيا وبحثيا ضمن أجنحة رئيسية للتحسين الوراثي والجراحة والتجارب ذات الأمان الحيوي. يضاف إليها معامل متخصصة في البحوث الصيدلانية والبايوكيميائية والأغذية والمياه ومراقبة جودة الأعلاف، فضلا عن منظومة للتعقيم ومزرعة بحثية وقاعات دراسية ومناطق إدارية. نصل إلى منطقة شمال التحرير بمحافظة البحيرة، حيث يقع مجمع الإنتاج الحيواني رقم 6، واللي بتتسع مزارعه الفرعية ال4 لتضم 20,000 رأس تسمين بطاقة إنتاجية 10,000 طن من اللحوم الحية في الدورة الواحدة، مستشفى بيطري ومزرعة نباتية ومناطق إدارية. نواصل جولتنا في الافتتاحات الجديدة وصولا لمجمع إنتاج الألبان رقم 2 بالنوبارية، واللي بيضم 2 من المزارع الحلابة بطاقة استيعابية بلغت 2000 رأس حلاب، تنتج 60 طن من الألبان يوميا. ونمضي قدما إلى محافظة الوادي الجديد، وبالتحديد الواحات الخارجة، حيث يقع مجمع الإنتاج الحيواني رقم 7، واللي بيضم مزرعتين بيتسعوا ل10,000 راس تسمين بطاقة إنتاجية 5000 طن من اللحوم الحية في الدورة الواحدة. كما يتسع المجمع لمستشفى بيطري ومناطق إدارية وترفيهية. إلى مدينة سفاجة على شاطئ البحر الأحمر يتجلى المعنى الشامل للتكامل في مشروعات الثروة الحيوانية بإنشاء المجزر الآلي المتطور بطاقة إنتاجية 320 رأسا في الوردية، وبالإيقاع المتسارع يتواصل العمل للانتهاء من إنشاء حزمة من المشروعات الجديدة، ومنها مجمع للإنتاج الحيواني والألبان بمدينتي الحمام ووادي النطرون. وبكده مصر بتواصل طريق النجاح بافتتاح المزيد من المشروعات في مختلف القطاعات وسط سباق لا ينتهي مع الزمن.
صدق اللي هتشوفه بعينيك في البلد دي لسه فيه وفيه.
حقا إنها إرادة شعبية لأمة أبية تخلق من التحديات مزيدا من الفرص الواعدة من أجل حلم جديد.
كان وما زال لمصر
Egypt has always taken steps in different fields that made it safe from international crises. One of these fields, ainsi, the chairman of the board of directors of the National Company for Livestock Production, will talk to us. In the name of Allah, Your Excellency President Al-Sissi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, distinguished guests, with deep appreciation, I would like to extend to you deep appreciation for honoring us by being here today to inaugurate one of the phases of the national project for developing livestock in Egypt, one of the development projects to achieve sustainable development within Egypt's Vision 2030. According to Your Excellency's directives, while honoring the inauguration of the first phase of the project in the integrated animal production complex in Al-Fayoum in December 2019, to own the production capabilities through localizing modern technologies in improving genetic strains, as well as achieving the balance needed between the increase of population and the productive capabilities. Due to our belief in the national role played by the company in the national project for developing livestock and contributing with all other state institutions in narrowing the food gap, following first, contributing to providing the livestock and distributing it amongst the small breeders through the Veal national project, signing contracts with the private sector companies in the governorates, providing 60,000 breeding heads for 2 breeding complexes in Al-Bahira, managing and operating the integrated livestock and dairy complex in Sadat in Al-Fayoum Governorate, and the dry and semi-dry cheese in Burg Al-Arab in Alexandria Governorate. Thirdly, we signed a cooperation protocol with the Academy of National Research to optimally use the research centers and all the potentials of the company through research projects to localize the high productivity strains. Fourth, we agreed with the Egyptian Sudanese company to provide 10,000 heads from Sudan, and 1,000 were provided to the slaughtering house in Safaga, and the other shipments would be received soon. In the framework of your directives, we implemented a number of projects as vital and industrial standards for the success of these projects, and we cooperated with the private sector companies. And today, we are witnessing the inauguration of the integrated complex for dairy and livestock in Sadat City, over 1,000 fiddans, having 6 exemplary farms with 5,000 livestock, as well as a milking station. The Scientific Veterinary Center for Research and Training. This center was established to be a center for development and research to keep pace with the developments in the field of livestock and contribute to the following: improving genetically the high productivity strains of milk and meat, as well as giving the opportunity for the training of the graduates of veterinary faculties. The research farm over 4 fedans, it conducts the researches needed to improve the local strains as well as produce other strains suitable to the Egyptian environment. The automatic slaughtering house in Safaga in the Red Sea with a capacity of 320 heads per shift and a capacity of 5,000 heads, as well as meat production factory with a capacity of 50,000 tons per day, as well as 30,000 heads, 2,000 milking heads in Al-Bahira and Al-Wadi Gidid. Your Excellency, the President, distinguished guests, to meet the current and future challenges and deal with them with the most modern scientific methods, to own the productive capabilities to confront the economic, local and international challenges. Your Excellency, the President, we are renewing our pledge to Allah and then to Your Excellency and the great people of Egypt to exert more efforts for the progress of Egypt. May Allah protect Egypt, its people and its army, and may we always enjoy safety and security. And now we'll inaugurate some of the projects via video conference. The dairy production complex number 2 in Nubaria. Livestock production complex number 6 North التحرير. Livestock production complex number 7 وادي الجديد. The integrated automatic slaughtering house in Safaga, the Red Sea. Any orders? The partnership with the private sector in Egypt is one of the state objectives in different fields. This would be covered by Engineer Mohammed Mahmoud Shafi'i, the Executive Director of Multi-Dairy Company. President of the Republic, distinguished guests, I'm glad to participate in this great event while the state is celebrating the inauguration of a number of major development projects within the framework of the directives of Your Excellency for the participation of the private sector and attracting local investments to accelerate development in Egypt and to secure achieving high revenues for the state from the projects. Your Excellency, the President, today we are introducing an example for cooperation between the National Services Projects Authority and the private sector that has given an example for an integrated project that was designed and equipped with the international technologies according to the international standards and using the most modern methods for technical management. And we are confident that through the contribution of the private sector and its philosophy in keenness to share administrative and technical expertise with the staff of the project, this project is a great step toward achieving self-sufficiency from dairy and meat, and upon its operation with full capacity, it would contribute with 50 to 60,000 tons of milk annually. And this cooperation is not just limited to this project, but it would be the nucleus for other projects like localizing the breeds in Egypt. Let me here refer to the role played by the state in developing the economy through establishing such projects and contributing to the GDP, as well as creating direct and indirect job opportunities, in addition to its effort in providing the needed infrastructure for establishing these projects. I would like to wrap up by saying that hope and serious work and dependence on Allah is the means to achieve success. Dream is the hope. We have hope for a better future and a country we'd all be proud of. Progress in any field is always related to research, planning, and implementation. The research is the beginning of development, and in this framework, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Your Excellency President Al-Sissi, the President of the Republic, let me convey to you a message of appreciation from the Egyptian scientific research community for your unprecedented support to science and scientists. The academic and scientific research community appreciates the fact that you honor and meet annually scientists and researchers. This is a message that shows that Egypt upholds science and scientists and appreciates their role in the community. We uphold your directives to increase the allocations for scientific research that was increased threefold over the past 7 years, and your efforts in developing the scientific research foundation in Egypt through establishing new universities as well as the research cities, in addition to amending the legislations and laws that incentivize to have in every new industrial and economic growth a developed center for research and development to develop applied sciences and to localize national industry has played role in linking industry to research, and we have seen this in the Egyptian pharmaceutical city, and now we are witnessing it in the Egyptian National Company for Livestock. Let me in brief place targets to provide food and support the state efforts in achieving food security in light of the challenges facing food production worldwide in general and in developing countries in particular due to drought, water scarcity, and the stopping of the supply chains, which makes food security projects in Egypt of a specific nature and great importance. Your Excellency the President, this project includes one of the most advanced scientific and R&D centers in the field of veterinary research, food production, food safety, livestock fodders, as well as the detection of diseases. It is equipped with the most advanced machines and devices according to the international standards and in line with other centers all over the world. And these are great scientific capabilities added to the system of technology, innovation, and science in Egypt. And now, it is our role to maximize benefit from these great potentials and to use them in implementing R&D that would serve the nation and the citizens. And this is a joint responsibility between the scientific context, the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research represented in the technology and scientific research centers, and the different research centers worked with the National Company for Livestock Production over the previous months through a lot of visits, as well as brainstorming sessions and common workshops to decide upon 5 main R&D researches that would be started here after the inauguration immediately. And these are genetic improvement and producing high productivity strains, adapting to the Egyptian environment through breeding project using genetic engineering and vital technology, developing a national system for monitoring the diseases as well as cross-border diseases in cooperation with the different line ministries, the detection of the residues of antibiotics in food processing to provide safe food for the citizen and increase the competitive edge for the Egyptian food industry that has the second biggest share of Egyptian exports, local production of fertilizers from desert plants, developing a scientific fellowships to the top graduates to continue their postgraduate studies in the Veterinary Scientific Center in cooperation with the Egyptian faculties. And out of those youth, we will provide the expertise needed to develop this national industry. Your Excellency, the President, what was mentioned is just a beginning, and it is implemented by national research teams from the Egyptian research institutions, the National Company for Livestock Production, and Egyptian universities and faculties under the supervision of the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. Thank you, Mr. President, and peace be upon you. The state is working through a strong integrated program to protect livestock in its different forms, a conducive environment to increase production in all forms of livestock. And now, the speech of Minister Sayyid Al-Qasir, the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, Your Excellency, President Al-Sissi, the President of the Republic, Egypt, agricultural sector with all its elements, aiming to achieve a balanced, inclusive, sustainable development. Due to your belief that every citizen on the land of Egypt has the right to get his needs from safe, healthy, sustainable food in the international economic growth and agricultural development, as it contributes by 20 to 30% of agricultural production. And that's why our presentation today would be due to inaugurating this livestock production project under the title The Livestock is the Doorway to Food Security. The importance of livestock is in providing opportunities for sustainable agricultural development, as well as attaining food security and improving the nutrition of the human being, in addition to improving the efficiency of natural resources and the ability of families to have empowerment in rural areas. The main objectives of the strategy of developing animal wealth is improving the breeds and strains of buffaloes, localizing the specialized breeds in producing meat to be tolerant to the Egyptian circumstances, increasing productivity from meat and dairy to achieve self-sufficiency and reduce imports, as well as improving the standard of living of small farmers and breeders. And the development of livestock faced a number of challenges. The lack of database about the distribution of livestock in different governorates, lack of natural pastures, increase in the price of fodders and their components, increase of the impact of climate change and high temperature, the need to raise the awareness about small breeders, about the breeding methods to be in line with the new strains, increase of demand on meat and animal production due to increase of population. Excellency gave us directives to develop a plan to develop this field. We established a database. We improved the strains of the local livestock, focusing on veterinary services and care, supporting the national project for Veal, developing the milk and dairy collection centers, providing incentives for this plan. To develop a reliable database, we scrutinized the livestock in all governorates, targeting planning to identify the needs from meat and manage the import file to achieve the needed balance. Planning for identifying the amount of dairy produced and their sites to connect them to the value chains and the dairy collection centers during mapping the needs of veterinary services, vaccines, identifying the needs of small breeders in villages and their satellites, be it from the funding or insurance services, and developing the methods of breeding to help them increase the productivity and improve their incomes to enjoy a better life. On the level of improving the strains and breeds, developing a plan to increase the productivity of local heads, and we increased the efficiency of some of the veterinary units and provided them with the machines needed, developing the vaccine centers and provide their needs, equipping more than 36 vaccine units in villages to reach small breeders, training people working on vaccines and to give them experience to raise the awareness of the small breeders, the training of small breeders on feeding programs in line with the purpose of the breeding. And the number of cases in which we implemented this program are about 2.6 million doses that gave positive effects for a lot of livestock since 2020. Ministry showed that there has been a change in the properties and characteristics of the new animals. In addition to the importation of high productive strains, we gave directives to small breeders to replace high production cows instead of the local cows. And Your Excellency ratified 10 million Egyptian pounds as soft loans to support the development of livestock and improve the standard of living of those breeders and increase their income. We coordinating with the National Services projects, authority standards and specifications of these strains that would be imported to achieve this objective. We signed a number of protocols with the different authorities to provide heads with the characteristics needed, like Masr al-Khair, the Ministry of Endowment, Ministry of Social Solidarity, and some investors from the private sector to support the partnership with the private sector. Following up the veterinary and vet quarantines, especially on the borders, licensing for supporting small breeders at lower interest rates. And we have provided a number of imported heads to small breeders through civil society organizations and other institutions. The number of imported heads since your directives by the beginning of 2020 reached more than 35,000 heads of high production. As for the national project for Veal, that aims to increase productivity and the income of small breeders to achieve a decent life for them, around 41 young, small breeders benefited from it, with 461,000 heads in all governorates. Regarding the development of dairy collection centers, we introduced to you these centers, and accordingly you gave us directives to start immediately developing these centers. And we have confined the dairy collection centers nationwide and gave directives to develop these centers and to give them license to produce high production, as well as providing a low interest rate to the small breeders, and establish new centers in the governorates that do not have them. We coordinated with the Ministry of Military Production to provide national and local machines. We have provided 212 centers up till now, and we're developing 46 centers in the Decent Life Initiative in the Egyptian villages that do not have those centers. Your Excellency the President, the Ministry of Agriculture, through its research centers and institutes, take a number of steps to develop livestock, like monitoring and following up the health status of livestock in Egypt, monitoring ports and borders, as supervision of fodders, and applying the quality assurance systems in the field of the measures provided to breeders. We provided technical assistance and issued licenses for livestock farms, and we implemented the veterinary convoys for more than 55 ones in 35 villages, and they treated more than 450,000 heads between 2020. The vaccines needed for the protection of livestock. We added another element, the importance of insurance on livestock for the more than 1.5 million, and suitable compensations were made, and the compensations paid for such cases reached more than 55 million Egyptian pounds. At the end, support to agricultural sector and its activities enabled the state proudly to provide safe, healthy, sustainable food to the great people of Egypt. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would just like to tell you that they say that meat is still expensive. So would we tell them, if we did not do these procedures over the past years, where would we have been? We have all noticed the international challenges and the increase of fodders prices, the increase price of insurance, shipping, but the state of Egypt, through the national project for Veal and through maximizing of livestock, and it helps also poultry. And if you notice the increase 1,000, and now we're talking about 8,000, soya beans increased 300 folds. But the measures undertaken by the state through providing the meat balanced the prices. Maybe there has been some increase in prices, yet the increase that happened in the price of meat is not proportionate to the increase in international prices. And I need to clarify one point here. We need to look at the small breeder, and we need to help him cover his costs. The cost has with less at a lower price, like what happened before, then he won't have livestock. And he will also to say that the current increase in price is less than expected. As the Prime Minister said in the press conference, we are assimilating a large part of this increase. But on the other part, there is some increase in price. I do not want to add to what was mentioned by Minister. I just want to say that the Ukrainian crisis started in January, February, So it is there for about 6 months. But for the measures made by the state over the past side, you will find that when we talk about 7 or 8 years, the production rate is at the same level of this 15 million. We could have kept the prices the same, but there are other variables, like for example prices of fodders. Our production of fodder is not just on a local level. We import a lot of it, and we always say so, that large lands should be reclaimed so that we'll be able to reduce the production cost. And when 3 years ago discussed the issue of veal, we said that we are going to increase. We did not see this coming, but at least we saw that so long as we have an opportunity to increase our production of anything, whatever, be it livestock or dairy, or then we need to do it. I would like to tell you that we introduced these industries a bit late. The meat processing industry is an industry. It is not just a matter of breeding livestock and feeding heads. No, it's an industry. It is an integrated million heads. Over the past 6 or 7 years, we received 71,000 only. This is a very small, modest figure. The 100,000 heads cost 5 billion Egyptian pounds. The Minister of Agriculture might say the world market doesn't want to be able to meet this demand, but we won't take it over just 1 year. So here, our objective is to help people. And when we discussed giving the opportunity, you talked to me about 3 million heads in addition to cattle and goats. I'm also saying that our dream is not just to have high productive breeds. We will work on implementing it over a short period. You might say it will take 10 years, but we cannot wait for 10 years. They that say it because they have measures, modus operandi better than ourselves. Of course, it's true. And we are ready to say so. That's why I'm re-emphasizing this point, the importance of the participation of the private sector. When we launched the 1 million heads until we were able to inaugurate these farms, we did a lot of steps with the aim of creating this industry. If the state product to be in line with the best meat standards in the world, this would be attained here. This research and development center that you will see today is ranked third. Its level is third, and this is one of the highest worldwide. And it is not the top. The top is fourth. The third level is great. There are other countries that have the fifth. Some countries have the fifth level. Since I said that there is the fifth, so there is the fifth, but they won't give it to us. We took this to do research and development that we weren't able to do before. And that's why these labs are available to all universities. Let's get back to our topic. I have seen the photo with the two images of the two markets. Don't you collect money from people when they get into these two markets? to be well organized.
من اللي بتاخدوه من الناس.
You should do it from the money you collect from people. You want to develop people. 3 or 5 Egyptian pounds from him before getting into the market, and when he gets in it, he would see how it looks like. Why don't you hold competitions? The best, for example, market in the governorates. And we can say the best market, for example, was in Al-Menoufia governorate or in Bahira governorate. And this is one of the forms to benefit from our, and our competition then would be for the interest of the people. Let's go back to talk about the cost. I would like to tell the Egyptians, and this is a very important point. You should realize that the prices in Egypt should have been even higher than that. And I'm not saying that to compliment the government. The European and Western countries, for example, and one of the EU standards was that the inflation rate should never exceed 2%. And they stayed like that for 10, 15 years. Today, that have stable systems and have suitable supply chains, governance, pricing, and do not have an element that we have, and it is the overpopulation. There are countries that did not see any increase in population over 40 years, and this is an important element we should consider. Despite that, due to the war, they are facing from inflation and increase in prices. If the cost of power in Egypt is according to international prices now, I think that there would have been great increase in the cost. Those who transport their products are less than 50%. 1 liter of diesel now is for 40 Egyptian pounds. And I'm saying this to the Egyptians now, not to appreciate it, but to know that the reality we have is the best thing we can do to control prices. There are other things, yes, we can regulate the markets, we can increase the supply, but according to what happened worldwide, we're talking now about a barrel of oil for $120. What if it becomes $150? I'm telling you that to understand everything. We are keen on keeping the energy and the fuel prices stable, electricity, and we said for the 3rd time we will postpone increasing the electricity prices so that it won't be a burden shouldered by people. Taking into consideration that I'm talking about 17 million subscribers, 17 million subscribers, so it is 17 million apartments that pays less than 50% of the energy value. I'm not saying this to remind you of what we're doing, but just to tell you that we are trying as much as we can to reduce the burden shouldered by people and to reduce the bill. For the electricity program, for the 3rd time, it is postponed, taking into consideration that the cost of electricity production has increased because the gas that was used in the production of electricity increased 4-fold. Dr. Mustafa is saying even more than 4.
يعني برضو الدكتور مصطفى عشان يدافع عن نفسه وانا معاه يعني.
This discussion is to show you the citizen that in the past the price was $3 or $4 or $5 per unit of gas, and now we're talking about $20 or $21 per unit. So the electricity that was generated at a lower cost, so this is the best we can do, not to leave the prices leap and to support low-income people. What they are doing abroad, the energy increases, so all prices increase accordingly. And people can see it in the price of transportation, goods, so people can see inflation. And we did not do this here in Egypt. And if Allah did not support us over the previous years with a lot of measures we did, like for example the 10 billion for the Veal, then the prices of commodities would have been much higher. Can we do more? Yes, we can, of course. Yes, I'm repeating again. The price of the 1 million heads is 50 billion Egyptian in the world market, but we're not doing it in 2 or 3 years. I'm not saying this to blame anyone. Our country stopped thinking for 50 years, and the country grew in size, but its resources did not increase. So it's out of our hands that things are happening that way. We slowly won't be able to do anything because we are already behind. We are much behind. So I will get back to our today's topic. I would like to thank, of course, all those who participated in these projects, especially the private sector. And I would like to tell them that we always welcome the private sector, and your rights are preserved, your mindset and your management is appreciated, because we really need it. And my message to the private sector, and the civil society. Do we have someone from the civil society here with us? Yes. Who? Would you please give the microphone to Major General Mamdouh? How many times did I phone you to talk with you about meat? Yes, you phoned me many times to talk about meat, especially livestock, and increasing dairy and like with the farmer, but we do not cover farms. I give the head for free to the farmer so as to produce dairy and meat. You were talking to me about ordinary heads. Yes. And I told him, if you want to enrich people, you need to give these high productivity heads, be it for dairies or meat. Yes. You told me we might change the heads given to the farmer and provide them with high productive meat and increase the nutrition for him. And then he will have profits by the end of the year. And we calculated it, and we found that per year the production of the head there is 500 to 600 kilos. I am talking about the civil society organizations here to say that we welcome all their efforts, and we need all their efforts and all the efforts of every Egyptian. And we are telling people, I told them, you give a head that produces 20 kilograms per month. So I tell him, if this farmer can produce 45 kilograms per month, then we're talking about 300 kilograms. And this is double what he produced before. So by doing so, you are enriching him after producing 150 kilos or 200 kilos.
ممكن الناس تقول كده دلوقتي انت
My people might say, what are you saying now on TV? I'm saying this for my country. I'm dreaming.
عايز اغير حياه الناس.
I want to change the life of people with an idea.
بايه؟ بفكره. طيب ما هو النهارده بقى معالي وزير الزراعه مع المنظمات.
The Minister of Agriculture with the Decent Life Initiative, with civil society organizations, we're ready to allocate a figure for replacing the old heads with the new heads. I'm not telling give them these heads for free. Give them the heads, let them feed and breed these animals, and afterwards you will collect the product from them. Do you do so, Major General? No, we take nothing from them because I give the heads to widows, people with disabilities. And I was talking to Tahya Masr and Decent Life Initiative that he will sell the 2 heads if they are males, and I will give him the price of the feeding for a year. We want in this program with the Ministry of Agriculture, I want Orman and Masr the opportunity of governance. Do you agree with me? Because when we give this to 10,000 breeders, for example, he has a follow-up supervision mechanism. Yes, we accurately do monitoring and follow-up. I have a monthly follow-up. I give a card to every breeder and the supervisor. When he goes to follow-up and supervises, he signs on this card. I have a vet who the society organizations can do more than what we can do because they enjoy more governance than the state. I once more want to say that this is not just to improve the life of people, but we will take a number of measures with the objective of introducing a whole package of outcomes. The 1 million heads I'm talking about, some people might say 1 million is a very big figure. In a state like Egypt, we cannot dream of less. And you need to mobilize your potentials to do it. We should all work on this objective. Why? Because if the transformation rate, then in what we are dreaming of, it would be 400 to 500 per head in 6 months and not a year. So I doubled my production of meat with this idea. Then you will keep trying until you do the dream. And I'm there to support you. This is inaugurating a livestock project, but here I'm trying to turn every breeder and every farmer into a small enterprise, and I'm changing his life. After he had 2 heads that give 500 kilograms or 400 kilograms every 4 months to dairy production. I will keep talking about this idea until you do it. Yesterday we signed a protocol with an investor from the private sector, and we will implement in this protocol your directives. We will link the breeder to a chain. The investor would collect from him the milk, he will provide him with the fodders, he will follow up the veterinary services, and he will cover the insurance cost. 70 or 80 big breeders working in this field in the private sector, along with the civil society organization. The point I wanted to make is that it is not just a matter of investment. Here we're talking to the civil society, the government, and the private sector about protecting the stability of the country. Because when pressure exceeds on the citizen, what would he do?
الناس اللي بتسمعني.
And I'm saying this to all those who listen to me. Don't think that I am saying stability for myself.
لا والله. أنا بحلم برضا
I
مجتمعي.
swear when I talk about satisfaction and stability in the community, I'm talking not about protecting the order or protecting the president. It's God who knows best.
لا أنا بتكلم على حياة 100
I'm
مليون.
talking about the lives of 100 million.
أمر الناس ما بقتش راضية. أنت بتتكلم
If
في 100
people
مليون.
are unsatisfied, we're talking about wasting 100 million. So you should never sleep. The civil society organizations should not, if things would go on as that, if we are not there and we do not work on reducing the burden shouldered by people, then this would be a problem. And I'm telling this to all those who are listening to me. And before I forget, I would like to thank all. Dr. Mustafa is telling me, don't worry about wheat, we still have a reserve of 6 months. Yes, I am saying that if there is an opportunity for more delivery of wheat, instead of having a reserve for 6 months, we might have it for 9 or 10 months. We do not know that there have been 2 major crises, be it COVID-19 or the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. They had an impact on the whole world, and we are part of this world, and we are not strong yet per year. Then you can hold me accountable. We all should dream and work to achieve this dream. How much? $1 trillion. I keep dreaming of the $1 trillion and maybe even $10 trillion. And Allah is capable of doing that for us. Despite all these circumstances, things are going on fine. We have the blessing and we have everything. We don't have a problem with anything. We have a reserve of everything. Why? Because this is Egypt helping us, and He's capable of that. Thank you very much. Excuse us, the President now will start the tour.
مصر جاية مصر جاية بالإيدين المصراوية شايلة كل الخير معاها املا كل الدنيا دي مصر جاية مصر جاية مصر جاية مصر جاية مش فقيرة لا غنية بالحبايب والقرايب والحكاوي والغناوي والمصانع والمدارس واللي زارع اللي شاركتني فيه ايدك في ايديا من الاول ما بتسيبنيش يلا يلا نكمل سكة مشيناها يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها احنا نقدر وده اللي انا وانت اثبتناه وخلاص فاضل سكه تكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه كان ناس كتير شكه وشوفوا روحنا لفين وخلاص فاضل تكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه كان ناس كتير شكه وشوفوا روحنا لفين خلاص فاضل سكة على آخر السكة لسه تكة خطوة جابت خطوة وشوفوا روحنا لفين يلا نكمل سكة
The center in Sadat City, this was established over 4,000 meters square, and it has 29 specialized labs in addition to surgery rooms and anatomy rooms, administrative hall. It has a research farm over 4,000 fidans. The complex for livestock and dairy production in Sadat City is built over 1,000 fidans. It has 5 milking farms with the capacity 1,000 each, and it has farms for milking cows as well as a veterinary hospital, wastewater treatment plant, a breeding farm with 3,000 cattle. It has also a veterinary farm as well as administrative hall. We made use of the areas to plant 350 fidans, 150 fidans of fruit, and also the others for manufacturing fodders and plants to feed the plant. And there is also, to secure this, we have 2 factories for fodder production with a capacity of 10,000 tons per hour. To provide electricity to the complex, we have 8 generators with different capacities. To provide water to the complex, we established water tanks with a capacity of 16,000 cubic meters for 6 days, in addition to establishing 2 tertiary wastewater treatment plants with a capacity 100 cubic meters per day each. The complex has also a fire extinguishing system and a fence for 8 kilometers, as well as the system of CCT surveillance cameras with 28 cameras. In this complex, this was built with 1,000 technicians, engineers, and workers, and 10 companies worked on it. Dr. Mohammed Abdelmenam, the director of the Scientific Research Center. This center was planned to be established for a number of elements. First, contributing to developing livestock through studied mixing between the national strains and the foreign breeds to increase its productivity and to make it tolerant to the Egyptian environment. Secondly, in protecting livestock through detecting contagious diseases for small breeders. The third, to see the vaccines, fodders, food and water, whether they are in line with international and national standards. The fourth is to train the technical calibers and the students in Egyptian universities. All this is done through 29 specialized labs in 3 wings, and genetic improvement wing for surgeries, wing for classified microbes, and the last wing is for the chemical and medicine researchers. Also, we are enjoying an ISO as well as a purifying system, and we have a main training room for 320 trainees and classrooms, in addition to a library provided with internet to support the research. We started the operation, and the actual operation will start immediately. Would we visit one of the wings? Here we can see the delivery of the sample, how the sample is being delivered. So on this movie, we have here the genetic improvement center, and here we have a wing for the genome and also the extraction of the DNA. We'll visit the Center for Extraction of DNA. Dr. Khouloud Ghanem, responsible for the DNA extraction. Here in the lab, we receive the sample, be it fiber or microbe, and we extract the DNA through a certain method, be it physical, enzyme, or chemical. Afterwards, we turn the DNA, remove it from the proteins resulting from the separation, and then we identify the purity and concentration of the DNA we received through using the device to measure the concentration of the DNA. And the sample is then sent to the lab in the center to conduct the scientific researches needed, be it genetic improve or diagnostic. And this is done through the most modern devices. And the most important device is the extraction of the DNA automatically. This device can take 96 samples, so this saves time and effort. Thank you. Dr. Tehani Shawqi from the Genome and Biological Lab. This lab enables us to follow the species and the diseases, and we can identify important genes like the production of milk, production of meat, and the disease resistant, and we can also copy a lot of genes for the production and fertility. So we formed the lab and equipped it with the detection machines for the DNA and to know any changes, and this is done through the microarray scanner. Through it, we are able to detect thousands of genes at the same time. So I collect a lot of information through one experiment, and we can also see any syndromes. And before that, we had to send most of the samples to be examined outside Egypt, and this costed a lot. Now we have the same technology, so we can do the same in addition to the other devices. Any orders? Thank you.
عايزة منا فعل مش عايزة كلامنا كل ما هنخاف عليها
مدير جامعة مدينة السادات واستشاري الشركة الموقعة. سيادتك مشرفنا في جناح
We are honored, and it has a surgery table for big animals, one for small animals, in addition to a number of machines and devices used in the surgeries. This room, to do its job, is served by a number of other rooms like the sterilizing room. In the other room, we have also the X-ray room, and it has X-ray diagnostic machines, fixed and movable, as well as the third room in the wing, and it is the diagnostic anatomy room for the dead animals to identify the reason of death. And this wing is ready to provide all services to the beneficiaries. There are certain objectives for this unit. The main objective is a research objective, as well as experimental studies on animals, and the other is the treatment of the animals that need surgery. And the third objective is to train the vets and the university graduates and students through the protocols signed between the national company and the Egyptian universities. And also there is a diagnostic purpose for this wing, and as I mentioned,
وعيون مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة تملي صاحية وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه. تحيا مصر حرة، تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة.
لكل الناس في دايما حلم تحلم بيه، وانا كان حلمي على قدي. ايدك في ايديا من الاول ما بتسيبنيش. يلا يلا نكمل سكه مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وخلاص فاضل سكه تكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه. كان ناس كتير شكه وشوفوا روحنا لفين وخلاص فاضل تكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه. كان ناس كتير شكه وشوفوا روحنا لفين. خلاص فاضل تكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه. خطوه جابت خطوه وشوفوا روحنا لفين. يلا يلا نكمل سكه مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر ودلنا وانت اثبتناه. وخلاص فاضل تكه على اخر التكه على اخر السكه لسه تكه. كان ناس كتير شكه وشوفوا روحنا لفين. خلاص فاضل تكه على اخر السكه.
We have here 4 fidans divided into 2 parts. 10 basins for agriculture and 4 greenhouses for study. The objective here is to do genetic improvement of some of the fodders and the feeds that has a lower cost, but it gives us a high yield and high nutritional value, because 65 to 75% of any livestock or dairy production is the cost. That's why we have a broad type of feeds and fodders that can endure water salinity, soil salinity, drought and high temperatures. Its planting cost is simple and its water consumption is low, and it is resistant to pests and diseases, and it does not also conflict with people over value. And studies were conducted to find that it increases the dairy production by 16 to 70%. There is a feed that's called the feed of the future for drought areas. It's the blue panic. It's better than alfalfa because it gives 10 to 12 yields per year, and the nutritional value reaches 18%. It does not cause any digestive problems for the animal, and the amount of water it uses equals 15% of the water consumed by alfalfa. So the pony cam and blue panic have the same properties. So if we always try to use blue panic and pony cam for feed, we would start working on it, and we will reduce the water consumption over the year at a lower cost. What about the salinity? The salinity level, it takes up to complex, and it is called the fodder of the future for years of drought. we go back to Prophet Joseph. And we will be able to plant without facing any problems, God willing. In the greenhouses, we deal with genetic improvement. We increase the number of chromosomes to reach the highest productivity and least cost. A question? For the plants you mentioned, can they be planted without any problem? So the 3 plants that you've talked about, the propanic and the ponicam, are we ready now to plant them? We have planted them here already. Okay, if I will provide 1,000 or 10,000 fidans to plant them, are you ready? Do we have the seeds? Yes. Yes, they're in the Agricultural Research Center. In the Agriculture and Desert Research Centers, we have for the blue cam in particular, because the blue cam lasts for 7 years, and as the doctor said, these are tolerant to salinity. 6,000 ppms, and a lot of their varieties can be harvested 2 or 3 times. So it is an alternative to alfalfa, because alfalfa is in winter, but these plants are in summer. And we in the Desert Research Center, we have planted 90 fidans. My question is, if today we will take a decision to plant 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 fidans of these varieties, the blue panic that you mentioned, can we do it? If you will say yes, we'll coordinate with the Desert Research Center first. We can do it, but the problem is with the seeds. We have planted 150 fidans. Can you? Yes, we can. We can, God willing. If we take the decision now, can we prepare seeds for more than 10,000? We can do it in 1 year or 2 years. Thank you. Thank you.
مصر عايزة ايه؟ عايزة ايد لحظة وجعها تشيل آلامها، عايزة تشوف المخلصين رافعين علمها، عايزة قلب صاحي الخوف ما يعرفوش، عايزة عمال في المصانع ما يناموش، عايزة لما التاني يا ابني تشوف 90 مليون بابني، عايزة الكل يشيل جميلها ما ينساهوش. عارفين مصر عايزة ايه؟ عايزة منا فعل مش عايزة كلامنا، كل ما هنخاف عليها هتبقى جنة، عايزاها صحراء خضرا بإيد الفلاحين، ونعلم الجيل اللي طالع هي مين، عايزة لما التاجي يا ابني تشوف 90 مليون بابني، عايزة الكل يشيل جميلها ما ينساهوش. عايزة الكل يشيل كبيرها ما ينساهوش. عارفين مصر عايزة ايه؟ قالوا لي في جملة واضحة حط فيها اسم مصر، جاوبت بحسن نية الجملة هي تحيا مصر. قالوا لي ارسم علمها، سرحت وتخيلت قصر عليه حراس كتيرة في وسطهم خط ونسر. تحيا مصر تحيا وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه. تحيا مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة. عروسة لابسة طرحة جاية لينا من بعيد، وحاسبة كل خطوة عارفة هي رايحة فين. بتبتسم بفرحة للقريب وللبعيد، وبتشاور لبكرة ادخلوها آمنين. تحيا مصر تحيا وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه. تحيا مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة. تحيا مصر تحيا وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه. تحيا مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة. تحيا مصر تحيا وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه. تحيا مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة.
لكل الناس في دايما، ولما رمت عليك حمل شاركتني فيه. ايدك في ايديا من الاول ما بتسيبنيش. يلا يلا نكمل سكة مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر وده اللي انا وانت اثبتناه. وخلاص فاضل تكة على اخر السكة، لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا روحنا لفين. وخلاص فاضل تكة على اخر السكة، لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا روحنا لفين. خلاص فاضل تكة على آخر السكة، لسه تكة خطوة جابت خطوة وشوفوا روحنا لفين. يلا يلا نكمل سكة مشيناها، يلا نفرح سوا باللي احنا حققناه. يلا هانت خلاص وانا وانت قلناها، احنا نقدر وده اللي انا وانت اثبتناه. خلاص فاضل تكة على آخر السكة لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين خلاص فاضل تكة على آخر السكة لسه تكة كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا رحنا لفين
مصر جاية مش ضعيفة لا عافية عشت فيها
Dr. Syed Fahmi, the director of the Dairy and Livestock Production Complex in Sadat City. It is built and equipped with the most modern technologies. It has a capacity of 5,000 and a capacity in addition to a breeding farm that takes 3,000 heads. Now we are in a farm of milking, a capacity 1,000 cows, capacity 30 tons per day. There is an automated milking machines and there is remote monitoring and it has 10 milking farms, 10 breeding farms, a delivery hospital in addition to an automatic slaughtering house.
حاولوا يضيعوها هم راحوا باقية هي مصر جاية مصر جاية مش فقيرة لا غنية بالحبايب والقرايب والحكاوي والغناوي والمصانع والمدارس واللي زارع واللي حارس هي أحلى صورة لينا هي
الحمد لله يا فندم الحمد لله صح يوصل يا فندم يوصل الحمد لله يا فندم الحمد لله سيادتك محمد شافعي
محمد شافعي, the CEO of multi-dairy company, and we are here in the automatic milking center. And here it is divided into 3 parts. The first is the milking part, the second is the cooling and tanks, and the third is the technical administration in which we are now. In the milking, this is the last point in blue. The cows are washed with cold water, and then there is the drying with the fans, and the cows are moved through an electronic gateway to the milking center. And our milking center is one of the most modern. It has the rapid exit system. It reduces the entry time and the exit time of the cow. And it has 48 milking points, 48 smart screens to get information about the name of the cow, the name of the barn, its average production, and it's covered with rubber to help the cows to stand. And at the exit doorways there are 2 electronic insulation points. If the vet wants to isolate a cow, and because our farm is a mega farm, so we had, of course, to use technology to control the cattle and to manage the farm. That's why we are using a modern software for managing the cattle connected to the milking by cables, the barns through antenna, and to the feeding department and the veterinary department. And connected to the farm, also a number of CCTs to help us control the farm. And out of this software, we can get daily reports about the production and the health conditions. Any orders? Thank you.
We
are trying to help the cows to be relaxed before they go to be milked. That's why the ground they stand on should be comfortable, the atmosphere should be suitable. The farm is provided with 128 fans and also water sprinklers that reduces the temperature. Thank you. We're honored to receive you.
مصر عايزة ايه؟ عايزة ايد لحظة وجعها تشيل آلامها، عايزة تشوف المخلصين رافعين علمها، عايزة قلب صاحي الخوف ما يعرفوش، عايزة عمال في المصانع ما يناموش، عايزة لما التاني ابني تشوف 90 مليون بابني، عايزة الكل يشيل جميلها ما ينساهوش. عارفين مصر عايزة ايه؟ عايزة منا فعل مش عايزة كلامنا، كل ما هنخاف عليها هتبقى جنة، عايزاها صحراء خضرا بإيد الفلاحين، ونعلم الجيل اللي طالع هي مين، عايزة لما التاج يا ابني تشوف 90 مليون بابني، عايزة الكل يشيل جميلها ما ينساهوش. عايزة الكل يشيل جميلها ما ينساهوش. عارفين مصر عايزة ايه؟ قالوا لي في جملة واضحة حط فيها اسم مصر، جاوبت بحسن نية الجملة هي تحيا مصر، قالوا لي ارسم علمها سرحت وتخيلت قصر، عليه حراس كتيرة في وسطهم خط ونسر، تحيا مصر تحيا وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية وفي مليون اتجاه، تحيا مصر حرة تحيا ألف مرة، تحيا مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة. كل خطوة عارفة هي رايحة فين، بتبتسم بفرحة للقريب وللبعيد، وبتشاور لبكرة ادخلوها آمنين. تحيا مصر تحيا، وعيونها تملي صاحية، وعيونها في كل ناحية، وفي مهما يجرى لنهاية الحياة.
مدير المحلب الآلي، سيادتك مشرفنا
Director
دلوقتي يا
of the
فندم في
automatic
الجزء
milk handled automatically from the milking room to the coolers, and here the temperature is reduced from 37 to 4, and afterwards the milk is kept in 5 coolers with a capacity 10,000 liters each, with a total of 50,000 liters to be conveyed to the milk processing factories through cooling vehicles, and there is automatic washing for the milking center, as well as the milking centers is cleaned with disinfectants. Any orders?
على آخر السكة لسه تكة، كان ناس كتير شكة وشوفوا روح